Hey guys, what's up? Week 182, and I want to address a correction. You guys know sometimes I mispronounce people's last names or names, and I was saying Dahmer instead of Dahmer. I don't know why, but somebody corrected me. I was saying Dahmer with an L in there for some reason. I know it's Dahmer. My bad. Sorry, guys. And it's funny because I had this whole tirade about somebody saying Sam Hain instead of Sawin last week. So I'm a hypocrite. Who isn't? Yeah, so let's hop into the first reviews here. And this is by Luigi Cozzi, and this is The Black Cat. This is by Severn Films. This one I had never seen. And if you guys know Luigi Cozzi, he kind of studied a little bit under Dario Argento, I'd say. And he directed stuff like Paganini Horror, Alien Contamination, and of course, The Black Cat. The Black Cat was one I actually had not seen by him. And this is a very strange movie. It's kind of the third of the Mother of Tears films before there was the actual Mother of Tears. So this one follows, I can't remember the witch's name, Lavana or something like that. So it's like the third Mother. This is a very strange plot here. So basically it's about a group of writers, of filmmakers that want to make this story about this third witch. In this movie, Suspiria is actually a hit film like it is in real life. So it's super weird and self-aware in that kind of aspect. And they even use music from Suspiria, like cues and stuff, which made me kind of laugh out loud. So it's very typical late 80s, early 90s Italian horror, kind of like when they were fading. And a lot of Luigi Cozzi's movies were kind of in that time frame, besides like Alien Contamination. I know he did some stuff earlier, but like a lot of the ones that he's known for, like Paganini Horror, it's like that late 80s, early 90s kind of weird stuff. And this shares a lot of similarities with Paganini Horror because it's like that one is like they're making a music video and there's this crazy story, and this one is also they're trying to make this film and it has a crazy story. There's some familiar faces in here. Urbano, what is his name? Barberini from Demons is in here, and some other stuff. And Brett Halsey, who's kind of a Fulci regular, is in here as well as a really evil dickhead producer in a wheelchair. And he probably is my favorite performance in the movie just because he's so ridiculous. At points, this movie ends up feeling like Rosemary's Baby. It's super bizarre because the lead who's going to play the demon in the film has like these interactions with the actual demon coming out of the mirror, boiled-faced and puking and stuff like that. And about halfway through the movie, there's not really that many like gore gags or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, guts are exploding and it gets very Alien Contamination, like guts flying everywhere else. Like, geez, these gore effects are pretty wild and pretty over the top for not having that many effects in the first half of the film. But it kind of makes up for it, like I said, the second half. It's really batshit crazy. It's got a really nice atmosphere as far as these kind of late 80s Italian ones are concerned, and the music is of course good, some of it from Suspiria of course, so it's got a lot of cool things to root for, but like a lot of Luigi Cozzi's movies, it never becomes great. It always just becomes kind of almost great, and I feel like a lot of his movies are kind of like that. It is kind of inept and crazy and just bizarre. That nightmare logic that Fulci and I would even say Dario and Bava kind of like just did amazingly. You know, Cozzi's not as strong at it. So, and the budgets, man, the budgets on these latter ones were just not where they used to be, of course. But Seven remastered this, so there's lots of popping colors. The lighting's really good, and it does kind of have that little bit. It's not going to be nearly as good as Suspiria or Inferno or anything like that. But I think that some people will prefer it to Mother of Tears, only for the fact that it aesthetically looks more like the first two, although, you know, the filmmaking level and budget and stuff like that's not nearly on the level of those first two movies. But still, you know, it kind of fits a little bit more. But it does have that weird aspect where they're basing it off the source material within it and everything like that, and then it actually, the witch is upset about it, and there's twists and turns, and nobody's who they seem to be, and there's hallucinations, and about halfway through, you're just like, I kind of don't know what the hell is going to happen in this thing. But, I can't even recall the exact ending. It's one of those movies, like, then you were to watch it again, you're like, oh yeah, this crazy shit happens and all this stuff. But anyways, I kind of enjoyed my time. Like I said, it's worth checking out. There is an interview with Carolyn Monroe and Luigi Cozzi on here. It's nice to see Carolyn Monroe and Cozzi talk about the movie a little bit, and they talk a little bit about the black cat being added in here because the producers were like, well, add a black cat because we want to make this more like Poe, and then they can sell it. And, you know, there's a million black cat movies. Of course, Sergio Martino did one, Fulci did did one. Even Dario Argento did one in Two Evil Eyes. So I feel like Black Cat is just the go-to. I'm sure Stuart Gordon has one too. So it's just like, we got to make the Black Cat. And it's not like the Black Cat story by Poe at all. But, it's just that kind of gimmick thing they do. Carol Monroe, like I said, she's in here. She's pretty decent as well. But, this is one of these things where you can't really trust anybody in the film. Anyways, recommended for especially the big Italian enthusiasts. I think it's also known as Demon 6. If you guys know the Demons series is ridiculous, because we have Demons 1 and 2, both by Bava, produced by Dario, and then we have Demons, like 3 different Demons 3s. Black Demons, I believe, is one. Demons 3, the Ogre by Lamberto Bava is supposedly one. But supposedly the real Demons 3 is Michele Soave's The Church, and then supposedly the real Demons 4 is The Sect by Michele Soave. And then part 5, I believe, is The Devil's Veil, which has not got a Blu-ray release. aka Mask of Sanity, is that the one? And I think that's a remake of Black Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. That one is the only one I haven't seen. And then this is supposedly part 6. Those might be switched, and I've even seen places where they list Cemetery Man as a Demons sequel. So whatever, man. The Demons chronological order, what's a real Demons movie or not, is insane. It's like the zombie movies or the La Casa movies or the Beyond the Door. Good luck, that just kind of cracks me up, how different countries and everything. But it's a nice, like I said, it looks good, and I was happy to watch it. It was kind of one of those movies that I was always hoping would get a wider release, and it finally did. So yeah, that's The Black Cat by Luigi Cozzi.
Fear, the most powerful instinct in the world. Fear and a mother's need to protect her child from the ultimate face of evil. The Black Cat. 2 women, one driven by love, the other driven by desire, racing into hell. A woman who will stop at nothing to get what she wants. A child trapped in a web of hideous danger as those around him are pulled down to the depths of passion, to the brink of madness, into the bowels of hell, to lie face to face with the daughters of darkness. From Edgar Allan Poe's classic tale of evil, 21st Century Film Corporation presents The Black Cat. Edgar Allan Poe's The Black Cat, the last word in terror.
The title rings a bell. Didn't someone already make this movie?
Dario Argento directed it. Suspiria. And I must admit, it was very, very good.
I'm happy with all of my pictures. Let's see. I always done more than the budget allowed me to do.
I love working abroad, I love working in Europe.
All right, we're here to review a couple movies, and the first is Daughters of Darkness. This is the new 4K release from Blue Underground. they've been doing a bunch of these ones, putting them on 4K, and they picked a lot of fantastic movies, honestly. A few Fulci's, Lustig's movie, Maniac, and now we get Daughters of Darkness, the 1970 Harry Kümel movie. This is actually the only movie I'm really familiar with of his. I know he did another one, Mrparka, which I actually have the Barrel DVD. I've never had a chance to watch it. And after rewatching Daughters of Darkness, I think I'll pop that in and finally check it out. This is a second or third time watch for me on this one. And this one's never looked better. Like, this is the first time watch for you, and I was like, when we put it in, we were watching. I was like, what year do you think this is? You're like, I don't know. I was like, this is 1970 or something like that. You're like, no,
It
I looked
looks
up, it's
really
1971. It looks fantastic. So I think this is like pretty much like one of the quintessential lesbian vampire movies, and like there's a lot of lesbian vampire movies. What, like half of them? Any vampire movie with a female is a lesbian vampire. Any vampire movie, there's like a weird sexuality things for sure. But this one's great too, because not only do we focus on the vampires like kind of story, there's this story of a pair of newlyweds, which Kat Ellinger points a lot of this out too. But she points all these movies out that have similarities, like what is the Blood Spattered Bride, which is very similar to the Spanish movie, which is really cool with the newlyweds and the weird kind of sexual shit going on between them. But anyways, we have this couple. This young man and this woman that are staying at this, where are they actually at? Like somewhere in Belgium, like Flemish area, which is very small area, very exotic to me at least.
It's is it Bruce? Burse? I can't remember because I looked at the town before. Because I was wanting to go there. It's a neat place.
Joe Bob actually did a big spiel on it on the last drive-in, which is pretty cool actually. Very funny to me and very interesting at the same time, which is the way it should be. So, anyways, this couple checks in here and they kind of got married on a whim, which is kind of strange, and he seems to be a little ashamed of it or a little bit apprehensive to take him and take her and show him to the mother and the family and everything like that. So there's some turmoil there. Meanwhile, there's these two women that show up that are kind of beautiful and highly dressed. They seem to be, rich. And she says that she is the Countess Bathory. And we know who, the Countess Bathory is, the infamous, serial killer from the past who bathed in virgin's blood. Pretty much a huge myth and everything and legend, but some real some truth behind it too. Right. So right away kind of what's going on.
Yeah, the innkeeper, he recognizes her. Which, from 40 years ago.
Yeah, and that whole speech is great, too. And that innkeeper, that whole scene with the innkeeper, they would kind of lift that scene in Near Dark, where Lance Henderson's character checks into a hotel and the guy recognizes him and he says, "You look familiar." And he's that old guy and he says, "I get around here every 50 years or something like that, every 100 years or something like that." So like they definitely lifted that from this one because it's just, I know that probably has been done before, but it seems very similar, almost to a T. And I imagine that Catherine Bigelow has probably seen Daughters of Darkness. Any kind of fan of vampire films that's going to make one probably has seen this movie. But there's another thing about that, the innkeeper. He is great. Like, he's just a small character. And there's not very many characters in this movie, but the retired detective and the innkeeper are two of my favorites.
Right.
And there's this retired detective that's kind of on to the situation because he had witnessed it 40 years ago, the same kind of murders, and there's these murders happening in the small town. We know who it is. And he kind of takes note of the young man, the newlywed who witnesses the murder when he's in town. He has a weird fascination with it, so he kind of follows him back and he starts to catch on, and their interactions with him and the Countess are perfect.
Yes.
Like, I actually laughed out loud, not because they're goofy or cheesy, because they're just that clever. Like, it's really clever written dialogue and hinting and everybody knows what's going on, but they can't say it out loud.
Right. And the Countess, the actress, she has great chemistry of literally every single character she interacts with, whether it's the innkeeper, the detective, the bride or the groom. I mean,
and her lover as well.
Her lover, yeah.
She demands screen presence.
Yes, yeah. She
was a star, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know who plays her.
She's definitely like a star. I know that she was one of the moving forces to get the movie made. The director was like, "I'm not doing it without her." That's what the commentary said, stuff like that. And she's one of these ones that probably is from a time before, this. I'm more familiar with the latter 70s and 80s stuff, so like, she's probably like this big star in the 60s in like Belgium and French cinema that I'm like, she looks gorgeous and she's a fantastic actress, and I don't know anything off the top of my head, which is a crime. But
And she does look older too.
Yeah.
I mean, she does look like maybe in her 40s. Not to say she looks bad or anything, but I mean,
she definitely is perfectly cast, and you can tell she just is like sophisticated and from somewhere else. And she, like, they point this out too in the commentary, that she doesn't like demand, like she's not like this demanding presence that, like, she is a presence, a strong presence, but she doesn't need to coerce people into doing anything. She's just like charms you like a vampire should.
Well, yeah. I mean, she, she does coerce people. But that's her thing. She's not like controlling people, but she's suggesting.
She's not Christopher Lee hissing at you and
No.
yelling at you, or Bela Lugosi, look into my eyes. She says, well, why don't, she manipulates him, but she's also charming him. I don't know. I really like this one. I think this one and what is the other one? Vampires by Jose Larraz are like two of the best kind of examples of this. But this movie's set design. And like, it's not even a set design. It's the location. There's there's no set design. It's just like, I feel like this, maybe there is great set design, but I feel like this location was perfect and looked just like this. And also the way they film it. Like, I think there's some day for night here, but if it's day for night, it's the best day for night I've ever seen.
It looks really good. A lot of it looks like almost like a painting or illustration, like the train station, the hotel lobby, obviously.
The long hallways.
Yes. And just really nice scenic shots. Like, there's a few like establishing shots of the hotel, like, outside at large. It just looks really good.
And there's that wonderful landscape shot of the sand dunes where, like, as you're like a witness to it from a far distance, where you see like her standing there in a silhouette walk up and wrap the black cape around her, like basically be like, you're mine now. I own you now.
Creepy,
you know what I mean? Like, it's really great. And the music is fantastic. Probably one of the best scores from the time. Like, it's really kind of hyper and different, and I really liked it. Like I said, it's very sexual too, and I really like that. It's got that dumb psychosexual stuff that you can't stand. That I'm like, oh, eat it up. I'm like, give me more of that psychosexual, messed up, repressed, confused sexuality. I love it, especially in the 60s and 70s. Give me more of that Norman Bates. Give me a helping of that Norman Bates in there. So the character of, I can't think, is his name Stefan? I feel like it's Stefan.
I think it might be Stefan, yeah.
He's completely messed up, and when he makes a call home, and the person who answers it right away, I was like, oh, like right away I was like, there's like 2 or 3 things going on here, and I think it's this. And then later in the commentary, Kat Ellinger also seemed to think it was that. I was like, somebody smarter than me thinks it's the same thing. So I was like, whoo, I think I'm okay. Anyways, the commentary's great too. Like she does my favorite kind of commentaries, because that's the thing that I focus on. Like, I focus on what movie is similar to this and what kind of themes and messages are all intertwined within it, and how they reflect, the things that are, all that kind of stuff. It's very fun to me to look at and stuff, and that's why I've always captured. Some people like other things, like paint the pictures different ways, but the way she paints the story and gets it involved in the horror genre as a piece, like, she's always doing the pieces of the puzzles and I like that. So great commentary, and there's other commentaries on here and a bunch of other features too, but I think that is the only new added item, besides obviously the 4K scan and audio, the new audio on there, the Dolby Atmos, and it like I said, it looks and sounds great. It's a fantastic looking movie. I know that this is a slower horror movie, some people would say, but I don't really think it's slow. I feel like the other movie we're going to talk about, The Tenant, is a much slower film and says a lot less in its runtime of 2 hours and 5 minutes than this one does, and it's what, an hour and a half? I think it's typical runtime.
Yeah, it's typical runtime, and I thought it moved pretty well actually. It doesn't dwell on things too long, which is always nice.
It's very stylized. Like, this is a very stylized movie, and it's iconic for a reason. Like that shot of the one character standing out the window like this with her arm. It's only like half a second shot, but it made it on the VHS cover, and it made it on other things too. I remember seeing that's like a still that if you were just looking through a classy horror book or something, you'd see that still. So like I said, beautiful actors in the movie, and great location. Can't top that enough. And it's very isolated and creepy, and you're kind of trapped. You're trapped in the movie. You got that feeling. But I like I said, I've always kind of liked this one, but I really liked it this time around. I do think it was weird to place it in the last drive-in in kind of a middle slot for people. It was kind of torturous, if you know what I mean, because it's like, it's not the world's most fast-paced movie, but...
Oh, is that when he did the marathon?
Yeah, I think it would be a weird marathon movie.
Yeah, that'd be a weird marathon movie, because yeah, I mean, it's not a slow movie, but it I could see somebody thinking it's slow, but it is a very visually appealing movie, which I think helps move it along. But in the middle of 4, 5, 6 other movies, probably not the movie you want to put right in the middle.
Do you think this is like a big feminist movie too? It could be
I
looked
think
at
it
as
could
one,
be.
right?
Yeah, I think it. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no.
Because Ken Ellinger points that out, like, the director, he was no feminist. I've talked to him, but, you know, the movie could...
You could interpret it as such, but at the same time, and the reason why I say no, and I don't know if I want to spoil too much.
Or maybe it's just a nihilistic. It's nihilistic.
It's definitely nihilistic. I would
say...
No
loyalty.
I would say that the scene where she runs away from the husband and she tries to talk her back into it and she brings her back. I don't know if that's would you say is like an empowering thing. Although she is a girl vampire and she is doing it to get what she wants. But
well, at the end, the man is used pretty much as a
the man is used as pretty much
just a body. You know?
Yeah.
So I'm going to read from the book just because Jeremy here, why not? Daughters of Darkness from the John Stanley Creature Features. 3 out of 5, 1971, Belgium. Harry Kümel directed this contemporary vampire tale which projects Elizabeth Bathory, 16th century Hungarian countess who bathed in the blood of virgins into a luxury hotel on the coast of Belgium. As a Bathory, is it Bathory, right? I always said her name wrong.
I say Bathory.
Delphine Sigriggs gushes with sophistication, glamour, and lesbian innuendo, which turns blatant when she seduces a newlywed and her husband. While there is blood and gore, Kümel explores the dark side of human sexuality in a fascinating fashion using erotica and symbolism. Achieves an aurora of decadence strangely compelling, a.k.a. Erzbith, the promise of red lips, the redness of the lips, and the red lips. Daughters of Darkness, a much better title. So, yeah.
Let's see. Did you read his rating?
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5?
I did. But, yeah.
Oh, okay. Daughters of Darkness. 3 out of 4 stars.
That's James O'Neill here on tape.
1971, 87 minutes. Okay. A beautifully atmospheric but slow version of the Elizabeth Bathory legend with Sirig as the silky vampire who seduces a kinky honeymoon couple, former Miss Canada Oimat, and Dark Shadow star Carlin, who are staying at an almost deserted Austin hotel. Gorgeous color photography and some jarring violence in this Belgian vampire flick, a.k.a. Le Rouge à Lèvres, The Red Lips, The Promise of Red Lips, and Children of the Night.
Let me get this straight. They are not a kinky newlywed couple. They are normal girl pushed into sadistic fucking BDSM, which she's doesn't want anything to do with.
Well, it's only in that one scene, isn't it?
Yeah, but obviously he had sexual problems.
Well, maybe it's because it's kinky, because they're,
But she was not. She was not
I
into
wouldn't
it.
say that it's kinky.
It's not a kinky couple.
No.
It's not like the swingers and freaking Eating Raoul or something.
Right.
It's not, you know.
Or the, I don't even know what kinky is.
I'd give a 8.5 out of 10. I like it a lot.
I would probably, honestly, it's not my favorite Elizabeth Bathory story.
Oh, you got Countess Dracula with Ingrid Pitt.
Thoroughly enjoy that movie, and it's really just because of the imagery of that one with old ass Ingrid Pitt, you know, with the sword and the I don't know, I just really like that image.
Well, I mean, that Elizabeth Bathory story has been carried on even through stuff like Rejuvenator, where like the older actress is like, I need the brain fluid of young women to be beautiful again. So it's
any aging girl. I mean, I think that Elizabeth Bathory is like to a woman what. What's that guy's name? What's the painter? Oh,
Secret Dorian Gray.
Yeah, Dorian Gray.
Yeah.
Very similar stories.
Bathory versus Dorian Gray.
Who wins in that? But no, I would honestly 4.5, maybe even a 5. I did really
like I said,
8.59.
I like it a lot. So.
It's definitely one that you should probably add to your library or repertoire. You should at least you should definitely see it.
Yeah, you got to see it.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, it's just. I don't think you're going to really find anything else
Great
like
music,
it.
too. It's one of the best musics.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best musics.
I don't even remember the music.
What?
No.
It's like, it's Bannon. I don't want to go through it, but
yeah.
I'm terrible with music. I'm like, it's like, you're like, what?
Like, no.
That wasn't it. That's not right. All right, so we're out of here.
All right, bye.
Silly tales about owls chased away by garlic and vampires shrinking from crosses.
She kidnapped young girls and kept them chained to give blood blood for her to bathe in and drink. And she bit them everywhere.
No.
And then she pushed white-hot pokers into their faces. And when they parted their lips to scream, she shoved the flaming rod up into their mouths.
Stop it.
Blood. Beautiful red blood.
Stop it!
Her hands, and her arms, and her legs.
Stop it.
Worry, you're safe with me.
I killed no one.
Again.
It's difficult to forget.
Ah, you will. After a while, it'll only be the remembrance of a bad dream. And then the remains of a remembrance. More and more faint in your mind. I have seen many a night fall away into an even more endless night.
Nights like last night.
Who do you think I am? A kind of ghoul? A vampire? Oh, no, my dear. So many nights, tumbling and tumbling away into the abyss of time. Faster, my love, faster, faster.
If you think these ladies are something, wait until you meet Mother. She's something else.
Okay, this next one here is Hyde's Secret Nightmare by Darkside Releasing, and let me say, this is pretty dark stuff. The director, I'll mispronounce his name if I try it. He's a modern Italian director. What is it, like Domiziano, Cristopharo? Sorry for the pronunciation. And this guy's done a bunch of movies, like House of Flesh Mannequins, and I think I've seen a handful here and there, and they seem to always be like cut or edited or have different kind of lengths and everything. And this apparently is the director's cut of Hyde's Secret Nightmare. I believe at 1.17 movies released this, and I do not know what cut that was on DVD. But okay, this is a really strange film. Like I said, modern Italian movies, they're not obviously working with the same budgets or the same film crews or anything like that. So, this movie is, it says it's like a mixture of a Frankenstein, Dr. Jekyll story, and it's more done in the style of kind of the latter-day Joe D'Amato movies. So basically very pornographic, very sexual. And first and foremost, I have to say this movie's pretty extreme. I was kind of taken back on it. I think it would be something along the lines of On Earth, like Too Extreme for Mainstream would put out or something like that, because his movies really don't pull any punches when it comes to the explicit content. And I gotta admit that I was like, wow, they're going there. This movie has, lots and lots of explicit sexual scenes and nudity and stuff like that, and even body modification. And the story is basically there's this impotent man. He's a scientist or somewhat a scientist, and he's trying to find a way to cure his sexual problems. So he's hiring this hospital, ambulance driver to bring him fresh corpses so he can kind of extract something from the nether region of females, so it can create this kind of serum where he becomes, very potent. He also has kind of like a supposedly deformed helper with him who, they have a weird kind of relationship. I'll leave it at that. And basically, that's the story here. And of course, the serum doesn't really work. We have, the typical Dr. Jekyll, not typical. I would say typical. It's kind of typical because we've seen it before in Dr. Jekyll's sister Hyde. So he kind of has this duality where he's transforming from a man to a woman and he becomes, evil and everything like that. But this movie comes to a standstill at points. Like at one point he goes to like a brothel or this sex club, this bondage sex club, and the movie completely stops. And while I was watching it, I was thinking, never ever let the plot of the movie get in the way of the fetish, because it's just like it stops for like 30 minutes and like people will be going in like rooms and it'll just stop and people are doing like body modification, sticking like pins and stuff in nether regions and through their, and for me it's not something that I'm really want to see. I'm not like, oh my god, oh, this is the end of the world stuff. I'm just like, oh, I could have went today without seeing that. You know, it's not really my thing. I know there's a scene in certain movies like the York Buckarett movie Schramm with the nails through the penis, but this is kind of like to showcase a lot of this stuff. And I would say that it detracts from the story, but I think that the director would probably say something along the lines of this heavy sexual stuff like this needs to be in here for the whole plot and everything with the character. I think it's a bit too much, and because of that, the movie runs a little long. And I don't know what was cut out of the original version or what was there, but they do have a lot of the scenes on here is added like a bonus, like 40 minutes, and it seems like a lot more sex in there too. So I'm not 100% sure. The acting, you know, it ranges. It's a low budget movie. I wasn't really super highly impressed with that many people, but the people in here are doing a lot of extreme things, and they are asked to show, you know, everything. So there's a lot of erect penises in this movie. This is almost, I would say, it crosses the line of softcore. You know, it is more on that line of Joe D'Amato movies, and I would say that there's more focal on male nudity than female nudity almost in here. So there is both. But, you know, I do appreciate them trying to do a more modern day gothic story of the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story and mix it with the Frankenstein or the Birkenhair getting the corpses story thing, because I'm into that kind of stuff. I'm into that story told in different ways, and I always love the idea of the Dr. Jekyll Sister Hyde idea where you take the serum and you're a man, then you're a woman, and it plays with sexuality, and it gets really crazy and insane and everything like that. Of course, there's a couple twists in here, and there's some really odd moments and everything. This is just a bizarre movie. This director, I've not seen anybody make movies quite like him, so he definitely has his own style. I'm not sure how I 100% feel about his movies, but they are definitely don't pull any punches, so if this sounds like it's up your alley, it's Hyde's Secret Nightmare. So. Okay, this next one here is from Sub Rosa Films, and this is City of the Vampires. Yeah, this is an independent SOV movie, and this is Ron Bonk's first movie. Ron Bonk would go on to do like House Shark and She Kills and a slew of other independent movies. Strawberry Estates is it? The dude's done so many movies. He actually runs Sub Rosa Studios, so he's put out Eric Stanze movies and Tim Ritter movies. So he's kind of was one of the big driving forces of independent film early 90s and everything like that. So, like, if you look behind me, I'm not sure if they're on the shelf or not, but I have dozens of Sub Rosa Studio releases. So, like, yeah, he's released lots of stuff. And City of the Vampires, I actually had on VHS and never had a chance to watch. It stars Matthew Jason Walsh, who also was in Kingdom of the Vampires by Tempe, which came out a couple years before. That's why he's in this one as well. Ron Bonk had seen that movie, so he was kind of intrigued and knew JR, so he reached out to him, and they kind of got hooked up and everything. Matthew Jason Walsh would go on to direct Bloodletting from 1997, one of my favorite SOV movies ever made from Tempe. So, I was intrigued to check this one out. Now, first and foremost, I have to say this is somebody's first movie. So, as far as technical aspects, it's a SOV movie. It's lagging. It's suffering from that stuff. Sound and all those kind of things are are rough and times, visuals and everything like that. Also, not to be rude or anything like that, but the acting is very, very poor. A lot of young actors with huge dialogue scenes, and in the commentary, Ron Bonk points that out. I probably shouldn't have been giving these people like speeches this long and everything like that with a first-time filmmaker, but they learn, and he learns and everything like that. So it's an ambitious movie. It's about this kind of cowardly man who lost his girlfriend in the city of vampires. When she was in trouble, he ran away. Now he can't really live with it, so he goes back to the city, this weird city where vampires are taking over, and it seems to be in the night, people are disappearing, the population's going down. Goes in to kind of find his girlfriend, see what happened, and make things right because he can't live with himself. So it's a bit a coward story, basically having to face his regret and save the day. So he goes in and he meets somebody who's supposed to help him and everything like that, and there's lots of exposition. There's lots of these scenes where these people give 10-15 minutes of exposition in a really short movie, and you kind of grasp where it's going there. Ron Bonk said that people had compared it to Darkness by Leif Jonker, which is a kind of a super ambitious, low-budget vampire movie, which I've seen a couple times, and I've never been the biggest fan of it, but there is no doubt in its ambition, and you gotta take your hat off to that movie. It's one of these big gore-fest vampire epic movies that's, wants to be so much a John Carpenter movie. This one, like I said, is ambitious too, but the budgets hold it back, the acting holds it back, and you could tell it's a very young filmmaker. The lead vampire baddie is very, very poorly written. He is just somebody that's not very convincing in the role. And that just goes back to first-time filmmaking, dialogue, all that kind of stuff. It just, it doesn't necessarily always work. There is a couple really fun gore gags, like skeletons and melting and some stuff like that. And, these movies are held back by budget and inexperience. Everybody's first movies are not great like this. But it was interesting to watch it and, see kind of an isolated city being filmed SOV style. So, and seeing another kind of movie that would go with Kingdom of the Vampires from 91. So, anyways, it's kind of up to you. There's two versions on here. One's a cleaned up version, one's the original version, and there's a commentary with Ron Bonk, which I would recommend the commentary over actually maybe watch if it into these kind of movies. The commentary is worth checking out. So that's City of the Vampires. Okay, this next one here is the Lake Michigan Monster, and this is a super bizarre film from Arrow Films. And this is, one of the newer ones. They don't always put out newer movies, but when they do, they're kind of strange, kind of on the different side. This one is kind of a one-of-a-kind movie. It's made in a very kind of low-budget but experimental, ambitious movie in a way. It's a lot of like green screen, I would say, effects like that, but black and white and kind of being This is a super strange movie, so bear with me. It's going to be very hard for me to explain what in the hell is happening here. So basically we have this sea captain, or you think is a sea captain, and he calls forth these three people, this super team, to help him avenge his father who was killed by a sea monster. So basically his father was killed right off the shore. So he calls in a Navy guy, a weapons expert, and a sonar expert. And he's a super bizarre, over-the-top character. The movie is kind of like the characters at points are self-aware of the ridiculousness with they're in, and they sometimes make comments on it. And this is one of these things where it's a comedy, of course. So the comedy, at first I was like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. I feel like it's kind of something that's a little too self-aware and everybody's acting a little too goofy for my, subjectivity for comedy. It's very subjective. So I was like, I don't know. But after a couple beats, I started to get sucked in, and I caught myself laughing. I kind of enjoyed a lot of it, and the effects are super weird. Like I said, green screen kind of effects. I want to compare it to, what was that Italian movie that came out last year? Laplace's Demon, I think. Maybe some of those effects, but a little bit different, a little bit more, cheesy on purpose. So basically they go on this strange adventure, and there's lots of like punny, goofy lines and dialogue that make you laugh, and all the things they say, and of course the main character, you find out some things about him which are really kind of revealing and everything. That's, of course, you find things out. It would be revealing, dummy, but it reveals all these kind of twists and turns about his life, and pretty soon he has to confront the creature and everything like that with the help of a ghost army. It is completely an absurd movie, and it's one of these things where people will either really love it or just not be for them, but you can't really deny its ambition and its zaniness and weirdness. So I feel like over time, the more you watch this, the more it will grow on you, and it's just super, it feels super regional, and definitely like a voice of these guys. There's a bunch of features on here too, where there's a bunch of commentaries. I remember there's a effects breakdown as well, and interviews with the captain, and they sing this weird theme song as well. I remember they sing it in one of the Q&As and everything, which I kind of enjoyed. So anyways, this is a bizarre movie, and like the trailer, you'll watch it and be like, okay, this is for me, or it isn't. It's super weird and bizarre, and I enjoyed it. I would come on the side of actually liking it. So that's the Lake Michigan Monster. Don't expect like a Creature from the Black Lagoon or anything like that. This is its own thing, and there's not anything quite like it.
And then the monster attacked your father and took him away.
Took him away and killed him? The authorities say sea monsters aren't real. Well, you see, our monster resides here.
Yeah, we know it's Lake Michigan. It's the name of the movie.
And this is my band of rowdy cutthroats, Dick, Nedge, and Sean Shaughnessy. Damn it, Sean Shaughnessy!
Wow, this thing's actually pretty big.
Monsters aren't small, Nedge.
This huge monster has you in its grasp, and then it just lets you go.
Terrifying, nevertheless.
Next stop, Lighthouse Island.
Do we have a boat?
It's pronounced pontoon.
I'm not sure that's right.
Hey, what are we painting here? It's a freaking landscape. Oh yeah, I can see it. Everyone, in position!
Are you in a band?
You're a dead man walking, Seafield. Oh, why don't you go shoot a timpani player?
Okay, this next one here is from Artsploitation Films, and this is Welcome to the Circle. This is a bizarre film from Canada, And this opens up with this guy and a daughter in a tent, and he's telling her a bedtime story or whatever, getting her comfortable. And they go to sleep, and there's an attack, like a bear attack in the middle of the night. He wakes up at this kind of weird area that I would say it's like a cult. These three women are kind of talking to him and everything, like, we helped you, and we're part of the circle. And he starts to meet everyone there, and he realizes his daughter's kind of already been ordained, sort of. So he wants to get out of there. And about halfway through the movie has a complete switch, and we start following these other characters. That one guy who is kind of this grizzled out, like, wannabe Clint Eastwood kind of guy, where he's like, we gotta go in there and get to save. And he's basically there with a couple people who are family members of somebody in the cult, and they want to do this whole kidnapping ordeal, pull this girl out of the cult, because obviously they know it's dangerous. But there's something very strange about this cult, and it kind of messes with reality and time. And they go into this weird whole aspect where there's these two circles, and this is fake, and this is real fake, and this is in the middle where you can see these different realities, and all these characters start to get intermixed. It gets very bizarre. There's a couple characters in this movie, the couple that are actually after their loved one, that are especially the male in that is so annoying and so ridiculous that there's characters that the art of loving a character that you hate, like Rhodes or something, I feel like that's gone now. Like, I feel like you can never it's very hard to make a likable asshole in a movie that actually it works well. And this character, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. Maybe he was a good actor, because he completely drove me mad. I hated him. He's whiny. He maybe it's his writing too. I just felt like he was so over the top at one point that it just drove me completely insane. So anyways, it gets really weird and strange, and I do like the concept is kind of unique, and you start to think about it, and you're like, okay, so if this, and it's just a bonkers concept that I think is kind of interesting as well, where there's these mannequins around, and the people that are in the cult see them as real people, but they're supposed to represent real people, and they possibly could be like I said, it's definitely something you have to watch for yourself to kind of grasp what the hell's going on. There's a couple moments where they add CGI when people get shot, and it's one of these deals where I understand CGI is it's the common now, but there's times when people, like, I'd rather just go Dirty Dozen with it. When people get shot, there's no squibs. It literally, those things looks like MS Paint or something, like they added in, where I feel like it was probably like somebody else was just like, add those, we need those squibs in there, and they were like, it looks better without them. It's such a far distance, you wouldn't maybe not see the gunshots anyway, and they add them in, and it's just like, that looks so bad. Like, it looks so bad. Like, it better without them. Like, it's not the end of the world if there's not a gunshot on somebody when they're halfway across, in the depth, and you can't see anything anyways. It just looks, I know I'm like spending like 10 minutes on this. It's not the end of the world, but there's some poor CGI in here, I will say that. But there's some cool things too. Like, it's kind of a mind, screwing up, kind of mixed up stuff. The characters, like I said, most of them I never really connected with, and some of them kind of disappear throughout, and it's strange that they give you that like halfway changing point throughout the movie. But anyways, I'm okay with it. I came like kind of right down the middle with it. It's definitely something that some people will enjoy, some people dislike, and it's got some interesting concepts, and I thought they did pretty decent with the budget they had, for sure.
Night, sweetness.
Good night, Daddy.
Where's my daughter?
Daddy!
The face, it's smiling, symbolizing happiness. You should meet Matthew.
Love and blessings.
And love.
And blessings.
And love.
Come. So, what is this place exactly? Welcome to the Circle. The Circle is more than just a place. It's a path. A circular path.
I don't want to go!
Sam, no! Samantha!
Dip and swing. Have you seen Samantha?
Little liars!
You have no idea the garbage that's been poured into her head. And the Circle, they're in a category all their own.
Don't come in!
The wonders I've seen have shaped my creative decisions. And I have created something unthinkable.
Are you real?
Okay, this next one from Artsploitation Films is The Dead Ones. And, okay. So this one opens up simple enough. We have 4 kids who are supposed to be kind of troubled teenager high schoolers that are going to be forced to clean this wrecked school, this horribly nasty school. And right when they go in, I'm like, why is everybody acting so strange? Why is everybody so standoffish? Why is this school so gross and different? This doesn't feel right. And then everybody starts complaining about the heat and everything else, and they start to see things out of their corner of their eyes, and these 4 characters in gas masks enter the school and everything like that. And I was like, oh, I know what's going on here, and I don't want to spoil it for you. About 25 minutes in, you're like, okay, I know exactly what's going on here, and you understand why everybody's acting weird. So we start seeing these 2 kind of linear storylines going on. Of course, you start to suggest that this had to have been in the past and what is in the present, and they start to show you hints of everything like that, and these characters are interacting in the present now with these other people, and then eventually, the later as it goes on, they'll reveal things here and there, and their interactions with each other and everything like that. But at the end of it, without spoiling, because the more I talk about this, the more it will spoil, I actually was very satisfied with it. And they actually managed to pack some emotional stuff in here. And it's a touchy subject, with any violence in a school nowadays is going to be, put under a microscope, and people are going to be like, oh, you gotta be very careful how you handle it. So this will probably bother quite a bit of people. But like I said, there's a couple moments in here where this girl goes on, her nickname is Mouse, and she talks about her pet mouse. I thought that scene was pretty well done, and the very end, how it ends. There's a line at the end that one of the characters says, well, can you tell us why Mouse isn't here with us again? I really thought that was powerful, and I thought it was effective and everything like that, and it's just a strange story that we've seen before. These stories can be very... we've seen these stories before, but they can be told different every time, with different characters and different reveals and everything like that. So, and you can always, say other things with them. And I thought that was kind of unique. And it is a budget movie, acting ranges, special effects range. But at the end of the day, I thought it was done well enough, and the characters were interesting enough, and the payoff was well worth it. The payoff's really what it is here. And it actually got me to start being interested in the characters' outcomes and everything like that, and the drama within them. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good movie. That is The Dead Ones from Artsploitation Films.
Every day in your class, you're always the worst. Students and faculty of Arcadia High, every day in your class, you're always the worst. Students and faculty of Arcadia High.
What is going on here? I think we're locked in.
You can do anything. You're a fucking
Killer. Killer.
You are not in control, Mr.
Killer.
Okay, time to hit some of these 2020 movies out. They're going to be pretty quick with these. The first one is on Shudder, and it is The Cleansing Hour. Okay, so you guys know me. I'm not big into the kind of Exorcist-style stories where somebody's possessed and they have to cure them. The Cleansing Hour is a bit different than that. We have this internet show where there's this priest. He's like this kind of hunky guy that all the girls are into and everything like that. Definitely working on his appearance and sex appeal and stuff like that. And every week, he basically exorcises a new person, and he has all these ads on the bottom of the screen that say buy his products and all this stuff like that, and they're just it's bullshit. So and everything like that. So they're basically you figure out right away that he's not really a priest, or at least if he is, he doesn't really buy into this stuff. And his best friend kind of helps produce the show behind and do all the tech stuff and all that kind of stuff. So basically, what happens here, of course, is that someone actually gets possessed within their group, and he has to confront this real demon on a live stream. So everybody's watching him and everything comes to front. And there's a lot of drama and there's tons of reveals about the characters and everything like that. And I thought it was pretty decent. There's some good gore effects here and there, some decent moments and everything. And I do like that they do kind of go big with it at one point. And I would have liked to see more of that than this kind of thing. But there's one thing that absolutely drove me crazy here. There is a drama beat in here where some character reveals something. And this is literally after demons. We know there's demons. We know there's possessions. People are fucking dead. And you could die any minute. But they start getting mad about some issues that I'm just like, at this point, none of this matters. I know people feel betrayed. I know people are upset, but this is non-issue right now. We will deal with this later. I can't buy it. Like, I just can't buy that at that point. It's just like, it's like being in the middle of war and then looking over and be like, did you eat my candy bar, bro? And then getting shot in the face. It's just like, I just think this beat came a little too late. And I know some people would react differently, but at this point during this kind of stuff, I wouldn't care until later. So I just kind of was like, eye roll on that one. But besides that, I thought it was pretty effective. I thought the special effects were good too. And like the practical and the digital effects. And at the end, there's this big kind of creature reveal, and that's kind of cool. So anyways, if you like Exorcist movies, I think this will be right up your alley because it's a little bit different. Like I said, not my favorite subgenre in the horror movies, but I thought that it was pretty decent. I kind of enjoyed it, and I thought the acting was solid. So check out The Cleansing Hour on Shudder. It's pretty good.
In the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, I command you to give me your name.
And cut. Nice job, everybody. Good job.
I'm gonna take that.
Follow monitors. Let me lead. All right, everybody, here we go. 3, 2.
Time to go off script.
Okay, this next one here is Host, which is on Shudder, and it's like an hour long, which I absolutely loved. It was kind of late at night, and I was like, I want to start a movie, but I don't want to start something bad and cut right in the middle. So I saw Host. It was an hour long. It was perfect. And this is kind of like that new subgenre, something like The Den or Unfriended, where we have this internet. They do one of the stories in VHS, the first one with the computers and everything. So this is definitely one of these kind of computer-grown horror movies. It was made during the COVID pandemic. They even make some comments on it and everything like that. So it's a group of like 5 or 6 friends that are going to do an online seance. And they have all their screens and everything like that. So they decide to do it. They have somebody that is a professional come on and everything. And pretty soon, a couple of the friends start making jokes and mockeries and everything like that. And this girl decides to make up a fake story about everything after they've summoned the so-called ghost or something or whatever that is. And she broke the rules, and this kind of sets a chain reaction where all of them are being kind of haunted by this ghost. And it all takes place and I feel like real time. So we'll jump around to like all their screens and everything, and we can see the screens. The way they had to do this had to be really hard to write and concentrate on editing and stuff like that. I imagine this is pretty difficult. So this movie is built on a lot of suspense, and of course it works on jump scares. Like the jump scares are there, and they do work. Like something will be in the foreground, you'll be looking back here, and then boom, it'll get you. And it works. It's effective. I'm not going to lie. This is the type of movie where if I was over a friend's house and they're like, we want, how like you have friends that like movies or like horror movies a little bit or something like that, but they're not really like the biggest horror fans or anything like that. And it's like, you have these weird tastes. Like you don't want to recommend something like some weird French fucking ghost story from 1985. So instead of that, you just want to go something a little bit, easier. The Host, go Host, because I think that this will appeal to a bigger majority of horror fans. And I don't want to say that as like a hit on the movie because it is accessible. That's not a hit on the movie. I thought it was really well done, and actually one of the better horror movies of 2020. It was actually genuinely scary. It's short, it's effective, it gets to the point. All the characters, you set them up and they're decent, they come across decent. There's good dialogue, some stuff that makes you chuckle. It works. It just works. It's spooky, walking around the house in the dark and something's gonna get you, and all that kind of stuff. And there's some you know, it's pretty dark too towards the end of the movie. So yeah, Host, check it out. It's pretty good. I liked it.
Hey. Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Rena.
Caroline. Hi, Teddy.
Let's do a shot glass to us.
Hey, everyone, get in. 3, 2, 1. Have you ever done anything like this before?
I've never done this over Zoom. Obviously, we're not physically together, but there's no reason why Spirit can't communicate over the internet.
Nothing's gonna happen.
Visualize us sitting in a circle. Spirit, we invite you to use us to pass on any communication. Is there anyone there? Please come forth.
What was that? Amy, was that you?
I heard it.
I heard something. I think there's something here. Do you see that? Oh,
Emma,
no.
that's funny.
There's something. You know, we've connected with something. We gotta keep going. We gotta talk to it.
This is not good. I told you not to disrespect the spirits. It could be something demonic.
Hey, this is all your fault! Not my fault! This is your fault!
Emma, turn the filters off. Come on.
Okay, the next one is on Netflix, and this is #Alive. This is a South Korean zombie movie, and I know a lot of people were complaining. They were like, this is the same plot as The Night Eats Us, or something, that French zombie movie where somebody's trapped in the apartment. And it does share some similarities. Yeah, it does share some similarities. But I do think there's a little bit of difference here. I think this one focuses more on the internet, hence the term hashtag. So we have this zombie outbreak here. We have this young man who is isolated in his house. His parents are not there. He's by himself. There's not much groceries in the house, and he notices basically a zombie outbreak, and he locks himself in his apartment. And the way these apartments are done in South Korea, they even hint at it. They say something at the end that is very dangerous how they're set up for this kind of thing, where exposure and everything like that. So it's like these two big like buildings, like 4 buildings or whatever, and there's like a big courtyard in the middle, and everything's kind of it looks very close quarters for a lot of people. So a lot of this movie, he's kind of trapped in the apartment and everything like that, and you have to remain quiet or they'll get in the door. And like, I don't have that much to say about this movie, but the difference between this one and The Night Eats Us, or whatever that title was called, or The World Eats Us, I can't remember the name of the movie, The World Eats Us or something, is that he actually starts an interaction with somebody across the hall, and they incorporate like drones and helping each other out. I like that. And by the end of the movie, they do come together, and there is a scene where it's like, does this really need to be here with this other character? But I enjoyed it. I liked the characters. I started to pull for them. The action's good. It's scary. It makes you jump. It keeps you intrigued. I really like this one. I know a lot of people are sick of zombie movies, but as long as they're good, keep them coming. And a lot of the foreign ones are good. We know that Train to Busan was pretty damn close to a masterpiece, and that's why we're going to get a bunch of Korean zombie movies. I'm okay with it, like I said. And I like the weird zombie movies too, like Shattered Dead, or just the weird shit you can do with zombies. And this is a funny thing that I was talking with like Moose and everything on the chat, and JP, we're just going back and forth, 22 shots, guys. And a lot of people do not consider, 28 Days Later zombie movie. And I know it's not technically a zombie movie, but I'm sitting here and there's this genre, this zombie movie. And then we have subgenres. Like a lot of people, I'm like, if we're not considering 28 Days Later, are we not considering Tombs of the Blind Dead because they're not flesh-eating zombies? Are we not considering The Video Dead because they're magical zombies? When does it stop? What is a zombie to people? I think there's certain subgenres within the zombie genre. And people are like, well, that's not a zombie because zombies are brainless, right? The brainless people, and do they have to eat flesh? Do they have to be dead? It's all these different kind of rules and everything. Like sometimes the voodoo zombies aren't dead. Sometimes they're just controlled. It's so ridiculous that people focus on that and say, well, that's an infection movie. But when a vampire doesn't get killed by sunlight, he's still a vampire. When a vampire can only be killed by a stake through a heart, or crosses don't hurt him, he's still a vampire. There's different rules with every vampire and every werewolf movie you've ever seen. But when there's a different rule with a zombie movie, all of a sudden he's not a zombie, that's an infected, or he's not a zombie, he's a magical zombie, or he's not a zombie, he's, you know, a Spanish conquistador, or I mean a Spanish, is he Spanish conquistadors, or what are they, like Knights Templar with a sword? No, he's not a zombie either. I mean, before, you know, I know Night of the Living Dead came out, zombies were different. After Night of the Living Dead, things changed, but really it didn't start getting crazy where everybody's like, that's not a zombie, until far after Dawn of the Dead, until like 28 Days Later and stuff like that, and it completely changed. But for all intents and purposes, 28 Days Later is just a zombie movie if they're not called zombies. I guess people would say 30 Days a Night is just a zombie movie because, you know, as well, the same plot, but they're vampires. So it's so strange that people get so stuck up on genres, even though it's just because, it's so weird. Like, it's so, sometimes I feel like it's completely pointless to argue, you know, this kind of stuff, because it's not, everything doesn't fit in a little box, and everybody wants to put everything in a little box. It doesn't fit. The shit doesn't fit in a box. Where are you going to put a platypus? You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. There's so many movies that would be considered platypuses. They don't fit in any box. If you keep arguing them till you're blue in the face, it's more of an opinion. It doesn't really matter. None of it matters to me. I'm going to throw all of them in the zombie movie category. You know what I mean? Like, Fulci, Beyond, and City of the Dead. Those aren't zombies because, you know, they're supernatural. They come from hell. They can't be zombies. Okay, whatever. They're dead. Some of them bite people. I don't, you know, just, you know, arguing and that stuff. Like, they're not Romero zombies, but it's just weird. It's such a weird thing, and I got on this tirade of zombies and everything like that. But hashtag alive, I enjoyed it myself, and there's, you know, some good stuff in here, but I just don't have that much to say about it. It's very kind of typical of what you would expect, but it does it all well. Okay, the Patreon pick is from Travis Linscomb, and he basically told me to pick one that I wanted to check out. So, and he picked another one, but for November and October. The one I picked ended up getting drawn, and it is Laurin from 1989. This is a German horror film. This is super atmospheric, and I don't want to talk too much about it. I don't want to spoil anything, because I feel like a lot of people have not seen this one. I had heard about it before, seen the cover and everything like that. I knew there was a Blu-ray release in Germany, and never really got released here too wide. So, anyways, first and foremost, this is a gorgeous looking movie. It's a period piece. The atmosphere is thick. It's amazing looking. So we have this, basically we follow this young girl. And there's just like, her father's always going away to sea, and she's always left with her mother and her grandmother. One night, she witnesses this young boy come bang on her window, and it seems like he's in trouble. There seems to be a child murderer going on. And her mother witnesses a supposed child murder and ends up dead the next day. This screws her up big time. Her father's never around. And this teacher moves in. She doesn't really have a father figure, so she starts to kind of, you know, hang around this teacher as well. And she also has a friend in this young boy that is like, I can't remember her. The single woman's son and everything like that. So it's really a weird movie, and we kind of get into like the, you know, the psychology of the teacher and the little girl and everything, and we get all these reveals and hints at what's going on. But it's a really kind of creepy, well-made atmospheric movie, and it just makes some comments on religion and all that kind of stuff with the priest character in here. So anyways, if you haven't seen this one is super thick with atmosphere. I would compare it, it's not as supernatural or as, you know, bonkers as Lamora, but I for some reason cannot separate this from Lamora. Maybe it's the elves, maybe it's the child adventure, child in peril, kind of weird shit, horror, scary stuff. But they set a lot of things up, and it pays off, and it has, any movie about a child killer is kind of really dark, and it's just well made too, and it's scary because, you know, when you put a kid in that situation, it automatically becomes scarier, especially when it's told more serious. So that is Laurin.
Wenn ich mir die Bemerkung erlauben darf, Herr van Rees. Das Militär hat einen stattlichen Mann aus Ihnen gemacht.
Er hat wieder die ganze Nacht kein Auge zugetan. Seit Tagen schon schleicht jemand ums Haus herum.
Möge Gott eine schützende Hand über dich halten, mein Sohn.
Vater. Wie freue ich mich, dich wiederzusehen, mein Sohn. Endlich ist unsere kleine Familie wieder vereint. Und ich habe eine gute Nachricht für dich.
Versprechen Sie mir, dass Sie sich um Stefan kümmern.
Laurin! Warte auf mich! Was ist denn mit dir passiert?
Okay, this next one here is from Survive '05, and this is from Sun and Soho, or Sono, and I had not seen this one. This is a Strange Circus. I wanted to check it out because when we got to 2005 for the 22 shots, I'm not going to lie, I was not happy. I am always been kind of vocal about not being the biggest fan of horror from that time period, and most definitely not the biggest fan of American horror from that time period. So immediately when we got that year, I started to dig in and look for foreign movies and a lot of Asian movies, because I feel like at the time I neglected a lot of the Asian films from the early to mid 2000s, even late 2000s. And I think that there were a lot, that's when they were the strongest probably, and they're still good, very good, but I think that there was a lot of big hits that came out that I didn't see. So Strange Circus, boy oh boy, this is a crazy movie. Very dark drama with, it turns into a horror movie. So we open up and we see these visuals of this crazy, like super colorful, beautiful imagery, bizarre, kind of absurdist kind of circus with all these different kind of characters dressed up. And this little girl's called on stage. She volunteers to have her head cut off by a guillotine, of course. So then we kind of flash in and we see who this little girl is, and she's telling this story. And she mentions that I was sentenced to death at a young age, and I died right away, or I was forced to switch with my mother. And that kind of is, you know, the setup here. That plays into everything within the movie. So she tells this elaborate story about her being, you know, molested by her father and her mother resenting her, and her losing her mother in a weird kind of accident kind of thing, and her feeling very guilty and kind of being, you know, completely messed up and having her identity mixed up. Halfway through the movie, we have this complete switch, and we're like, wait, now that is a story within here, but still played by the same actress. So things start to get really kind of foggy and strange, and we're like, where does reality begin and fiction start? And she's making comments about, sometimes I feel like my fictional stories that I write are more realistic, or more my reality than anything. And she's telling this to a new helper that seems to be kind of asexual, strange character. And a lot of this movie is just them kind of hanging out, and we get these small little hints and everything like that, and she's being deceitful, and then by the end of the movie we have this huge kind of reveal that I absolutely loved. The movie's highly sexual. There's lots of sex scenes, lots of graphic stuff, lots of weird things that I've never seen before. I love the psychology in here. I love the interactions. I love the character she calls Robo. I love that character. I thought that they were perfect. And I also really like her. I think she's a tremendous actress. I think she does a lot of things a lot of other actresses wouldn't do. Like I said, there's lots of weird sexual stuff in here, lots of good absurdist imagery. And there's some comedy beats too, especially when she talks about going to school and being her mother, but as, you know, thinking everybody else thinking she's the kid. And it's just, and all this kind of stuff that she says that's really off the wall and weird plays into the end, and we actually see what happened. Or do we? Because this might be a dream or a reality or a fiction, or all kind of mixed up, you know, because we have, you know, I would say unreliable narrator, but the way it unfolds and is told, I think that it's perfect. And I know some people don't like the unreliable narrator, but I think this movie gives you maybe 2 or 3 possible outcomes. And I mean, what's real, what's fiction, what's reality, what's not, what actually happened. You maybe never know, but I enjoyed this one. I thought it was really well made and acted, and I think that it bounces back between 2 realities, and I guess that sometimes it's making a statement, maybe the reality is more real than your fictional, you know what I mean, like that. Maybe the fictional life or the stuff, your stories you write are more real, or maybe they actually are real. It's just kind of strange, and I just like this one. I thought it was really good and just bizarre and a really good looking movie as well. This is ripe to get this is the type that needs a Blu-ray release. This needs to be put back out so everybody can see it. And I've only seen a handful of his films. I've seen Forest of Love, which is on Netflix, which I thought was really interesting and cool. And I've seen Suicide Club, which I think is a harder film to approach in comparison to Strange Circus or Forest of Love. And those movies aren't easy to approach for a lot of people either. I think that Suicide Club is the most bizarre out of all of them. But anyways, this one involves suicide as well. And so does Forest of Love, if I'm not mistaken. So there's definitely this focus point on suicide. But anyways, definitely one of the best that I've seen so far of 2005. I've seen 10 so far. So I'm aiming for 105. I don't know if I'll make it because when I start hitting the American movies like Cry Wolf and shit, I just don't know. And not that that's the worst movie ever or anything, but I just don't want to watch like 20, 30, 40 mediocre movies that are all like 5s to 6s. It's just, not something that I'm really interested in seeing. So anyway, Strange Circus, highly recommended.
皆さん、今日はようこそ我々のサーカスへ。さあ、
あなたは本当に私にそっくり。いつかきっとこれもあなたに似合う日が来るわ。だって私の娘だからね。
私の母は私により2つだった。まるで私は母のようだったし、母は私のようだった。母は父に抱かれて嬉しそうだった。その表情はいつしか私に乗り移っていった。
お父さんは男か女か？
男です。
男だ。美津子は誰だ？男か女か？
女です。
正解だ。
愛情、欲望、嫉妬、精神崩壊、そして復讐。それは美しくも悲しい残酷な物語だった。ある一人の女が歩んだ罪深い奇跡をあなたは目撃する。ストレンジサーカス、歪んだ愛の宴。
Okay, we're in Blindspot. Okay, there we go. This is my pick. This is 1976, Roman Polanski, The Tenant. I'd never seen The Tenant. That's funny. I had Repulsion and The Tenant. I'd never seen 2 of the 3 apartment trilogy. So this stars Roman Polanski and a couple other familiar faces. It is Isabella Johnny from Possession, and I think she's in Nosferatu, the 70s version.
Mm-hmm.
And, a couple people actually from Repulsion, especially the guy who runs the coffee shop was the landlord or something in Repulsion. So I recognized him right away. So this is a 2-hour and 5-minute movie, and right when you saw the runtime, you got mad at me because I always pick these like psychological thrillers that are like 2 hours long because I know they're good, and this is Blindspot, so I definitely pick them for this. Anyways, it is a dark comedy, and there's times in here where I was laughing out loud. It's one of these movies where we have this character who wants this apartment, and Melvin Douglas is also in here from The Changeling and Ghost Story, so he's really good in it. Recognized him right away from The Changeling. He's a classic actor, way before this kind of stuff. But anyways, he runs this apartment complex, and he basically, it's really hard to get a spot in here.
Yeah, it's hard to get a spot anywhere.
Yeah, but so he ends up kind of getting this apartment, but first and foremost, he has to make sure the previous tenant who tried to commit suicide actually is going to die before they'll give him the tenant. So he actually visits it. It feels very petty, like kind of weird, like uncomfortable, like comedy, like should I go, like almost like a Seinfeld routine, to be honest.
It
like,
is. Well, he wants to gauge his chances. Like, should I get the apartment? What are her chances of living?
He ends up meeting one of the girl's friends there and kind of starts a relationship with her. But he has all these weird interactions with people, whether it be his friends, one of which who is an oaf, who has one of the funniest scenes in the damn movie to me, where he shows him how to kind of stand up to his neighbors. But really, he's just being a complete asshole. And his dialogue made me laugh for like 5 minutes. And other people in the apartment that are strange. But pretty soon enough, we know something's wrong within like the first 15 minutes snippets of him living in this apartment. He goes and gets coffee, and they try to give her his order, her old order, and we're like, oh, I know what's going on here. We have this kind of weird possession story, or somewhat. But I noticed similarities to Rosemary's Baby, because I believe there was the suicide attempt in that out of the apartment, which I thought was kind of strange and everything like that. And also with Repulsion, with the hole and the tooth in the wall, we have the cracked walls. So they all share a similarity. Mm-hmm. But I think Rosemary's Baby is the best of the bunch. But I do you like this one better than Repulsion?
No.
No?
No, I actually like Repulsion better.
Repulsion's a more serious film.
I think Repulsion is a more direct film, I guess.
I think this one is a story that within the first hour, you know exactly where it's going to kind of go. But you start to just see it unfold, and just it's one of these ones where you bump into all these weird-ass characters, crazy, weird, bizarre characters, and every little piece of the puzzle is coming together more and more. And it's pretty smart how it does it. Mm-hmm. And the acting's really good. Some of it even seems dubbed at points, like the big party scene. Like everybody's dubbed except Polanski, actually. But Polanski's really good in it.
I think he's fine in it. I think that this one has the same issue that I had with his Fearless Vampire Killers, where it's just like a movie that is like casually bumbling around. It's good, but it's a very quiet, very polite movie. And I don't know how to explain it other than that. It's like the characters are just kind of like bumping into each other to get through the narrative and then wind up at the end.
I think it's absurdist, too. I think it's an absurdist movie.
It is an absurd
It's like
piece.
an adventure absurd movie where you bump into all these weird characters. And like there's that point where that guy shows up to his apartment and he's just like starts banging on the table. And he's always constantly being yelled at for like loud noise. But this guy's like distraught as hell, so he's like he wants to stop, and he looks up. That stuff just cracks me up, like that kind of stuff. But Melvin Douglas is really good, great voice, the way he talks to him and everything like that. And although he seems kind of prickish, like at points, I couldn't help but always like him. Shelley Winters is also in here, and Shelley Winters is fucking insane.
She's the best part.
I love when she first introduces him to the apartment, and she's so mean and just like abrupt and rushing through everything. Then she's like, the girl threw herself from the window, starts laughing like, yeah, you want to see it? It's just her laugh. It's just so like abrupt and like whoa. But it's super strange, movie. I like the apartment. The apartment looks great, and there's some creepy shit too. Like when he looks across the hall and sees the people just in a bathroom, because he has to. The bathroom's right directly across the window, and he has to leave his apartment to use the bathroom. He sees people just in there staring, like. And of course, they start to see weird. He starts to see weird shit. Like I don't know. Should we spoil this one at all? I bet a lot of people, I'm sure lots of people have seen this, but I bet a lot of people have seen, everybody's seen Rosemary's Baby. Except you, which I tried to make you put it on your Blindspot. You refused. So we would have done all three of these. But, yeah, I like it. Like I said, it's well acted. It is like, I don't want to say meandering, because there's lots of cool shit happening.
It is meandering. It is very...
But it's not annoying. It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not like garbage meandering where it's just like, stuff that doesn't need to be there. It probably doesn't need to be there, but it's good.
Right. It's good. Like I said, it's very similar to, I think, The Fearless Vampire, where it's just like characters politely bumping into each other.
In the dark.
And they finally get to... the resolution, and none of it's wasted. It is a very long movie, and I kind of wish that they developed more of the fellow people living in the apartment with Polanski. They introduced like a handful of them, and a lot of them are fantastic characters. I like the woman who's being evicted for the noise. She's like, she made me pull my shoulder, and it hurts.
I laughed a lot, like the comments and the stuff they're saying. It just makes me laugh. Like it cracks me up, but it's super weird too. Like it gets really bizarre at the end.
It does get very bizarre.
I think the scene where like he starts to hallucinate and he wanders into the hallway and everything's distorted is really great, and really great set design. Like that thing looked amazingly weird. Probably cost a lot of money to do that shot.
And I think in the ending where everything turns into like a theater, I think it would have been cooler if we had gotten to know a lot of these characters.
Well, we get introductions. You don't need every detail about them.
But we only get like maybe 3 or 4 of the people living in the apartment.
This kind of reminded me a bit of The Sentinel, which is a Michael Winter movie, which I think you would like better because it's like you move into the apartment and there's just a bunch of weird people in it and they're strange as hell. They're having a birthday party for a parakeet or something, and Burgess Meredith's in it, and there's just tons of people in the movie. Everybody's in it. Like it's like a long list of just strange shit.
What's that one where they want to tear it down and a bunch of old people?
Oh, that's Homebodies, which I love. I love Homebodies. Homebodies is awesome.
That one's kind of fun.
I think Homebodies is underrated, totally underrated movie, and very cool, very cool. And it's getting a Blu-ray from Kino, which I think is well deserved. I feel like I've never heard many people bring that movie up. In fact, I don't think I've heard anybody actually just bring it up out of the blue like that. But love Homebodies. So yeah, I would really recommend this one. I like it. I know you weren't too thrilled on it, but you could never say it's a bad movie.
I could say it's a bad movie. I could say that instead of watching this, watch Amelie. I think that
you want to watch a crazy apartment movie, you watch Delicatessen by that director.
Yeah, very similar.
But I like this movie.
Yeah.
So we have Creature Features John Stanley, The Tenant, 3 out of 5. This adaptation of Roland Topol's novel is either a study in paranoia or an old-fashioned ghost story, and it has to the credit of director Roman Polanski that his script works either way. Polanski is effective as a repressed Pole who rents a Paris flat and is haunted by the spirit of a woman who committed suicide by leaping from a window into the courtyard below. He also believes that the building's owner, Melvin Douglas, as a curmudgeon, and other tenants are conspiring to drive him crazy. The takeover of his personality includes Polanski going drag, a grotesque image that enhances the film's ambiguities. I can't say that word for some reason. The build-up is slow, a bit fascinating, and Polanski captures nuances of character brilliantly. A mosaic of oddball characters is played by Isabelle Adjani, Joe Von Fleet, Lila Kedrova, Claude Dolphin, and Shelley Winters. I don't think that it's necessarily a ghost story like he thinks. I think that everybody in that apartment is meant to be. And no matter who they physically look like, they're supposed to be somebody. Like, they're always supposed to be there. Like Melvin Douglas, if he dies, somebody else will take his spot that acts just like Melvin Douglas. And if this guy dies, Shelley Winters, somebody will come in and take Shelley Winters' spot and be Shelley Winters, but won't look like it. Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense.
So when somebody moves into Polanski's spot, when he's dead, because, spoiler, if he's dead, I don't want to spoil it, you know what I mean, they will be that woman, no matter what. But you could play it as that. You could play it as a ghost story, which I don't agree with, or you could play it as a crazy person movie, which it's either that or the other one.
I almost side with ghost story, and I think it's because of the ending. Although I could see where you're coming from with it replacing.
Well, I mean, like Slime City's that too. Like you feed the person this ectoplastic slime that they left behind, and eventually you become that person. And they always constantly need the 4. I know. I'm comparing The Tenant to Slime City. It's not...
There we go. This review's over. Okay. Let's see. Slime City, 19. Okay. The Tenant. Before I read this, there's that one book, and I always forget the title. I think it's by Virginia Woolf, and I think it's Mrs. Dowry's Tea Party.
Is it Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
That is a play about, but yes.
Okay.
And there is that very similar idea where,
I feel like The Shining's the same kind of story.
Yeah, where the main character, I think her name is Clarissa, she's kind of like going through life, and she ends up kind of like miming like an old war vet, like kind of like going to where he was going, and really she's just trying to get set up for a party, but like the guy's still alive, you think. I can't remember, but it's like they almost become one person, like this like young society girl and like rich society girl and like this old war vet, because they walk similar paths throughout the day and like do have a very similar routine. It's almost become like they know each other despite never having actually met.
That's kind of like how people believe ghosts are. Like, if I ran the same trail every day, even after I'm dead, somehow there will be like within my like presence running that trail even after I'm long dead. But it also reminds me of what was I thinking of? There was a movie called The Deeper You Dig, which just came out this year, which there's a character that's kind of possessed by another character, and there's like 2 within them, or similar to Angel Heart, where that character has within 2 within them. That's very a theme that is not easy to grasp, but used a lot more than you would think.
It is used a lot, and it's an old story. It's an old tale.
Within two souls in one body.
Right. You know, I mean, it goes back to like Victorian times, really, that I can think of. It might go back further, but I know it's stronger in like more Victorian literature.
And even The Exorcist, like any exorcism movie has that point where it's not a person, but there's a devil fighting within your soul, you know?
It's a heck demon.
A heck demon, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, The Tenant, Paramount, 1976. 3 out of 4 stars. A bunch of people are in this movie.
This is James O'Neill, tear on tape.
Oh, yeah. I should show the cover. Get my hot dog fingers out of the way. Polanski directs and stars of a semi-remake of his classic Repulsion. A timid Polish clerk, Polanski, living in Paris, moves into the apartment of a suicide victim. When strange things begin to happen, faces staring at him from across the courtyard, personal objects of his predecessor appearing about the flat, neighbors making veiled threats, it would seem that he has become the victim of some bizarre conspiracy. Or has the dead girl returned to possess him and drive him into a reenactment of her suicide? Or maybe, just maybe, it's all in his mind. Beautiful images and an odd international cast with Winters and Douglas in top form, making this an interesting, if not entirely successful, psychological chiller.
But you think that whoever takes that apartment will have to constantly relive that, and that's always been that. Like somebody constantly committing suicide.
No, because they say 2 in 1 week.
2 in 1 week.
Yeah.
So maybe it's more like she's actually was possessing him to carry it out.
I think that it's more of a ghost thing.
And he was weak-minded, so he was taken over.
Right.
But Isabella Adjani, I think, was in love with the girl who committed suicide.
Oh, I think she was
and
too.
I think that's why she has that fascination with Polanski's character.
Right.
Because he is becoming her.
Well, you know, and it was very slow too, because he runs into Stella. That's the character name.
Okay.
What's her name? The actress.
Isabella Adjani
Plays a character named Stella. They first meet at the hospital, and you know, and the girl is still alive. You know, she just woke out of a coma, and she just screams hysterically, and then like dies later on that evening.
Do you think that was the transfer?
I think that might have been the transfer. I do think that this is a ghost story, but it's not a blatant ghost story. I don't know if it was intentional or not. Like, I think that this is kind of one of those movies that they just kind of like write as they're making it.
I don't. It was based off a book, but I never.
Yeah,
I've
this
not
is
read
true.
the book.
It was based off a book, and in the book, in the commentary, they're talking about it being like vampirism, things like that. Now, I don't know. Maybe we'd have to read the book to find out.
See, I went on this whole fucking try it again today about zombies. How some people are like, well, that's not a zombie movie because they're not dead and they're not flesh eating. And it's just like, well, is that not a vampire movie because it doesn't follow the same rules? It's horseshit. It's such a horseshit thing where zombies have to follow these rules, but vampires don't. Because every vampire movie ever made is not the same vampire movie. Like Bloody Bloody Mary or whatever. Mary, Mary, Bloody Mary, that movie. That's a vampire movie, really, in all intents and purposes, but it doesn't follow the same rules, so is it a vampire movie? You know, there's so many weird vampire stories.
Well, yeah, and vampires are one of those, like, every culture has, like, a vampire myth in one way or another.
And vampires and zombies are almost mixed sometimes.
similar,
When you start
yeah.
hitting, like, stuff like, Messiah of Evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Like, it's weird. It's a weird
Right.
mixture. Like, they're not, or, I don't know. It's strange. Like, in older stuff, like, you go Vi or V, like, they're just, everything's just ghouls. They're just ghouls.
Yeah,
They're just
cool,
dead
cool.
things. They're dead things.
Right.
They're all together. I don't know. They're bloodsuckers, or like even the Asian hopping vampire
the
movies.
hopping
the ghosts and the
vampires, the
vampires
Indonesian
are
stuff.
mixed. Like
Mhm.
it's so weird, and that's why it drives me completely nuts when people are like, "That's not this. That's not this." It's like, dude, you can't do that. It's just so weird to argue until you're blue in the face what fits into what genre. Not everything can be compartmentalized like
No,
that.
absolutely not.
I said there's too many goddamn platypus movies. Like, they don't fit anywhere.
I can, or like, well, zombies are just weird in general because like the term zombie as we know it is like it's a relatively new word.
Yeah, it's from 68.
Yeah, and it doesn't really exist beyond, you know, the movies of like, the 50s and 60s. And the zombie word, the word that it comes from, is almost something else entirely.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
become
don't-
completely different.
Right, and I'm not a voodoo expert, so I can't really get into it. But
That's why I said there's subgenres within the zombie genre where it's like it's a zombie, but it's
Right.
not It's not a zombie. Like, it's not a Romero zombie. It's a voodoo zombie, or it's a
Right.
magic zombie, or it's a supernatural zombie.
Right. Necromancy.
Yeah,
Are you going to count things like rabid, like quarantine or wreck?
Or wreck or rabbit itself, where it's
Right.
like they got bit by they became rabid. Or they're
Mhm.
not. They act like zombies.
You know, like do you have to be dead to be a zombie?
That's what I said. Like, that's
You
the
know.
argument. That's
Right.
the question I asked. Like, if the two rules, they would Romero zombie, you have to be dead to eat flesh.
Right.
Like, I was like, I guess Return of the Living Dead's not right, or Nightmare
Mm-hmm.
City, which is argued not. But like,
You know,
but
a,
then
a cannibal isn't a zombie. They
No.
were just talking about that in
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead when you're putting it on.
Yeah.
Like, they don't cannibalize each other.
No,
they
no.
cannibalize something else.
interspecies activity, it's not. I've seen Dawn of the
Yes.
Dead a million times. It's my third favorite movie ever made. But yeah, so anyways, the Tenant, we're completely going off topic.
Yeah.
Tenant's not a vampire movie as far
No.
as I know, and
No
maybe not
vampires, no
maybe not a
zombies.
ghost movie.
Maybe not a ghost
but
movie.
maybe a ghost movie or a possession
There
movie.
is some cross-dressing.
Or psychological crazy movie. It's
Right.
all of that probably. Possession, ghost, psychological. Take it as you want. You could argue
Mm-hmm.
either way, or it could be all or none, or some of the above. But I would give it an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
I like it. I go 7.5, 8, somewhere around there. I like it. I think it's good.
A 3 out of 5 on a good day. Maybe a 3.5 out of 5.
But what about his neighbor? Remember when he turns his music up loud just to prove a point? His neighbor comes down and says, "I'm sorry, can you turn down your music? My wife's not feeling well." He's like, "It's not my fault your wife's not feeling well." And then he says to him, he's like, "Every time do I feel well, do I go up to him and complain about my problems?" And then he starts playing the music loud and marching and drinking his beer.
This is going to
That's
be one
that
of the
scene.
times where, because of where I work, it's annoying to me because I take those calls on a nightly basis, so I just become frustrated watching it in a movie.
I don't care. He peed in a sink, Jeremy. He's a great character.
Everybody pees in a sink at least once.
My brother did once when he was drunk, and my dad almost knocked him out.
I had a dream where I peed in a really fancy sink, and I woke up and I peed in my bed, and this was like 5 years ago.
All right, I should probably cut those
Yeah,
last
no, you can keep
statements
it in
like
there.
that. No, I think I'm gonna cut that. We're out of here.
Bye.
Next week is The Raven with Vincent Price. That's your pick.
That's my pick. I don't remember picking it, but we're going to watch The Raven. I can quote it from start to finish.
No, we're not doing that.
I'll do it.
Paris. On a quiet street, in an old building, a dead woman's vacant apartment is waiting. Waiting for the tenant. Roman Polanski is the tenant. In Chinatown, he exposed the dark side of corruption. In Repulsion, he explored a warped mind. In Rosemary's Baby, he examined the occult. Now, the tenant, something altogether new, altogether chilling. No one does it to you like Roman Polanski. The Tenant, a Roman Polanski film, coming from Paramount Pictures.
Okay, let's get into these questions. Freddie M., I'm watching Wrong Turn, and I like those hillbillies. They come up with some crazy kills and seem to always get the last word. Heard anything about Part 7? I have actually not, except that I heard that it might be a remake or a reboot, not exactly a sequel, which I don't really know. So, anybody know anything about Wrong Turn 7? 81 Oak Ridge, speaking of Dahmer, instead of Dahmer, I won't say Dahmer, I'll say Dahmer. All right. Have you seen Torment, 2017 from On Earth Films? It's a raw look at John Wayne Gacy, and it's pretty graphic in the rape and murder part. Highly recommended if you're in the mood for a shocking movie. No, I have not. I did actually pick it up. I have the On Earth, Too Extreme for Mainstream, have not had a chance to watch it. And I know there's this whole big ordeal of people complaining, like, it's too graphic, and, they don't want to watch gay rape, but they're perfectly fine watching straight rape. That's what I kind of got the impression of. It's like, it's a movie based on John Wayne Gacy. He's a killer clown that killed like 33 young men or 30 young men or something like that. So, I don't know what to tell you. The Mysticog. This is a good haircut on Mrparka. Of course, he looks good in all hairstyles, but this one is pretty spruce. If he's single, he should set up his Tinder profile with screenshot immediately, but switch out the videos in the back. Put titles on the shelf like The Notebook, When Harry Met Sally, Dirty Dancing, and Practical Magic, and watch those dates roll in. I made a joke to him. I said, you don't think I can get a date with Cannibal Holocaust and Ratman? So he has a question here. So actually, here's a question. How important is it for your significant other to share your love of movies, especially the kind of movies you like? I don't need them to be in love with everything. You know, sometimes it's good to have somebody who's like, you know, I don't think this is very good, or vice versa, and they kind of rub off on you too. You watch some of their stuff, and it makes you, you know, a broader film fan. But I wouldn't want to be with somebody who is completely closed-minded, like, I'm not watching anything horror, anything fantastical. I just don't know if I could do that if somebody was constantly badgering me about everything I picked up or watched or anything like that. So it would have to have some, at least, understanding. They don't have to be a fanatic, but they have to have some understanding. Nick Mua, let's say you're a movie executive. How would you pitch a movie you don't practically like, but that'll make you tons of cash? I'd be point blank obvious. I'd say, listen, this isn't something that hasn't been done before. It isn't interesting, but we're going to make a lot of freaking money on it, so we know the drill. You want the money or not, this will be very successful. I tell them the truth, straight up. I mean, usually you got to lie about a movie that's not going to be successful financially that you want to make, so I don't think it would be the other way around. If it's going to make a lot of money, just tell them it's going to make a lot of money. If you were in charge of showing movies in an old folks' home, what movies would you show on Halloween? You know, I would probably stick to cartoons or something very old, something with lots of movement and stuff like that, just for them to have fun. Might put in something goofy like Ernest Scared Stupid, but I maybe like the Charlie Brown Halloween thing. I think that they would appreciate something like that. Just keep it like that, cartoon, very child friendly. I think, I don't want to say that all old people in old folks home have, you know, but sometimes if they suffer from dementia or Alzheimer's. I know my grandma watched My Neighbor Totoro, and she was watching it and she's just like, and she had Alzheimer's and dementia, so I'd keep it a little bit friendly like that. I wouldn't want to put in something like Hellraiser. Is there a holiday that, according to you, hasn't been used as a setting for a scary flick? If so, what might that be? I don't really think. I think everything's been done. I mean, isn't there one called Arbor Day? I know there's one called like Green Day, whether it's like Earth Day. So I mean, like they're all been used. But we could see some more Thanksgiving slasher movies or horror movies in general. I think that would be fun. I know we got Thanksgiving and Home Sweet Home and all that kind of stuff, but Blood Rage. But we could use, that's like 3 off the top of my head, 4. There's like 4. So we could do more. Why not? And then were you afraid when first meeting Jeremy he might cut your head off? Off your head? Not really. I mean, I met people for movies, to be in movies, and you know, met people to come in, be extras and stuff like that and stuff. So you never just meet people and like, oh, meet me in this dark alley, or you know, when you meet somebody for the first time to hang out or do whatever or make a movie, you don't ever meet in a stupid place. Meet in a public place. You know, be smart. Answers. Jonathan Wilhelm. I asked basically underrated directors. I don't want to hear any big dog names. Jonathan Wilhelm, underrated directors. Ruben Galindo Jr., Grave Robber, Cemetery of Terror. Don't Panic. I was completely caught off guard by his movies. So fun, gory, and entertaining. Bad Brains Horror. I'm going to go with Michaela Suave as underrated horror director. The Church, Del More, 2 of my favorites. Just picked up the sec. Isamiso, Shudder has honestly been killing it. You get so much bang for your buck with that service. Visitor Q is another amazing oddity. I have so many horror directors I love, but 2 modern ones who I feel are a bit underrated and hopefully still active in the industry are John Knotts and Timo Tajanaho. I'm sorry, that's the guy who did The Night Comes For Us. I've seen every single film under their belt and have yet to be disappointed. If their name is attached to anything, I will check it out in a heartbeat. Knotts directed The Shrine, Girl House, and The Cleaning Lady. Goddess of Love. Absolutely adore this one. I've seen Girl House. That's pretty good. And Tiho did Macabre, VHS 2, Headshot, and The Night Comes For Us. Amazing filmmakers, great update as always, and I look forward to more. Thank you. Ken Coakley. I think Bruno Mattei was underrated director. Horror fans put him down for ripping off movies such as Jaws, Cruel Jaws, Dawn of the Dead, Hell of the Living Dead, aka Night of the Zombies, which is the title I prefer, but he was hired to entertain him. By golly, that's what he did. And he did do that. I kid. I remember watching the Dahmer film, and thinking it was well done and acted. I had completely forgotten that it was Jeremy Renner playing him. I also agreed that the Ted Bundy film made around the same time seemed like sleazy exploitation. One director I felt was underrated was Takashi Shimizu. I love the Ju-on, Mirabito, and Reincarnation, 3 of my favorite Japanese horror films of the 2000s. The Mystagogue. I think an underrated horror director is Dante Tomaselli. I think his films have always effective moods and nightmarish quality reminiscent of Fulci. The best example being his movie Torture Chamber. Lloyd Kaufman doesn't get any respect for all the outrageous gore and horror moments he's given us in the Trauma universe. The hidden world of horror lies in many critical darlings who people never think of as horror directors, but they should be. I think Michael Haneke, Funny Games, The Seventh Continent, Cache, Benny's Video, Gaspar Noé, I Stand Alone, Irreversible, Climax, and Lars von Trier, Antichrist, The House that Jack Built, Melancholia, have given us some of the most horrific movies that have ever existed. Nick Mua, I just loved your Get Off My Lawn Punk Kids segment. I hope it's the first of many. Don't snowflake screechers and armchair critics who believe criticizing and critiquing are synonymous trigger your gag reflex. Oh, Basically, he has more on that. But I should have put that up earlier. I don't get mad at anybody reviewing or critiquing a movie. I just don't see the point of making a joke out of, like Akira. Like I said, like if somebody were to review Dawn of the Dead, like, this is dumb. Zombies look purple. I don't like it. I don't give any real reasons. It's just like, whatever. And give it like 1.5 stars. It's like, what a waste of goddamn time. But he also says, I think you'll agree that our mutual acquaintance Scott Shermer deserves more love and respect for his excellent work. More people should at least be aware of his movies. Same goes for Dustin Mills. Though I'm not a fan of Aeon Flux, either Karine Kusama should get more attention. Her film, The Invitation, is close to perfection for me. I agree. I love The Invitation. Her other one, too, with Nicole Kidman was pretty good, too. Wild Will from Chesterfield. Hit my highest total spent in a month for October, at least 1,000 on 43 titles. Good thing I've sold about 100 on eBay and 2 friends for a little over 800. Got to get while it getting's good. Anticipating Rest in Peace. Rip, Rest in Pieces. Hopefully coming next week. Underrated directors, Domiziano Cristofaro, who I reviewed one of his movies today. Casper Joel, David Pesca, Dustin Wade Mills, Maggot, and Marion Dora come to mind. I should mention that Rip, Rest in Pieces is coming out shortly. I think maybe the Blu-ray will be out in December or something. I'll put the link for Grindhouse Video. It's a movie Dustin Mills directed. I had a small role in it. We filmed it a few years ago, so it's been a while, but I really enjoyed doing the performance. I have not seen the movie myself yet. So, Jason Fetters, Michael Reeves, who directed Witchfinder General and sadly passed away before he could create another movie. That is sad. He directed a couple, Witchfinder General, She Beast, and there's another one too. Skip Barber, Nick Irway, he does Independent Horror brilliantly. Androgynon is a great low-budget film, and of course, Dustin Mills. Androgynon is a pretty cool movie. David Luton, Michael Suave, and Hyde Nakata. Both directors have produced some modern horror classics. Richard Molander, Dante Tomaselli, and John Knotts is in the top of the list for sure. Those are the picks of the 2 best choices for what you're talking about. Samuel Glass Jr., Alfred Soul isn't a name you hear very much because he really only directed 1 horror movie, but that movie was Alice Sweet Alice. Great movie. Jason Segel, Ty West, he directed The Innkeepers and a great throwback movie called The House of the Devil. Josh Darling, he commented, basically he's pretty milquetoast, does not like Ty West. John Soloway, Jose Mojica Marins, who's Coffin Joe. Marco Vidian, Fred Durst, which is a joke. Patty Rhodes, Mickey Keaton, Chad Farron, Oz Perkins. Jordan Bibby, Chuck Russell, Michael Reeves, John Carl Buechler, Lucky McKee, Brad Skies, Brett Piper. Keen Gross, Michele Suave, of course, named some of his movies. Zachary Puccinelli, Valerie Miknov, is it Milif? Go watch Bolts of Justice. Jason D. Cokes, S. Craig Zuller. He's not unknown, but sure about underrated, but his name never really gets mentioned. Stephen Bureau is another one. I mean, he's well known in the horror community, but I've loved both his AGP movies. And Tarzim Singh does some beautiful. I missed the rest of his comment. I am very sorry, James D. Cokes. That happens sometimes with the Facebook comments. I thought I saw this all Seymours, but I missed that one. Sorry. Daniel Roebuck Lafleur, Jeff Lieberman. Of course, Squirm, Blue Sunshine. Kermit Mir Key, Scott Shermer. Jason Toatsville, he also agrees. Tim Milligan, Jeff Burr. Tony the Dead says me. Come on now. Jeff Thompson, Ansel H. Ferrara. Jeff Thompson also says Joshua Kennedy and Cameron McAlliston. Alan Wills, Tori Jones, Roman Rojo Jassart, Sean Burkett, Jessica Ellison, Jennifer Kent, Brittany Belcher. Ty West is my favorite indie director as of late. House of the Devil is amazing. Adrian Roberts also says Ty West. David Murphy, J.R. Bookwalter, Michael Doherty, Stuart Gordon, Scott Spiegel, and Tommy Lee Wallace. Nicholas Hunt, Jen Wexler, Salvador Funkenstein, Maurice Devereaux. Sorry about the last name. French names are really hard for me. Directed End of the Line, Slashers, and some other titles that completely disappeared from film in general for over the decade now. Love End of the Line and Slashers. He's a good director. Tom Horsball, Michael Suave, John Nuts, Sinan Sano, Adrian Garcia Baglagno. He did a bunch of movies. Julian Mari, and Alexander Bastillo, and Can Everall. Salvador Funkenstein says, wait, 2 more. William Malone and Jack Shoulder. Marcelo Andras, Christopher Smith, director of Triangle Black's Death, of course, great underrated director. Michael Darwin seconded that. James D. Cokes, Marcelo Andras, I usually champion him too. Nick Balderas, Ryan Spindle wrote and directed terrific Mortuary Collections, which just dropped on Shudder. Best horror I've seen this year. Great movie. And Jason Toatsville also agrees with that. Rebecca Reinhart, Dustin Mills, and Tim Ritter. Kieran Fisher, again, the End of the Line Slashers guy. Maurice Diverdo. That name's always so hard to me. Divera, I can't say it. And he also says Laurie Brewster, Marcus Tijana, Don Costarelli, Mike Steinheiser, Chris Laurmatina, Shane Glass, Brian Event, Bradley, Madeline Madeline Deering, Patrick Lucier, French names again, Justin Morales, Roger Watkins, Lou Ojeda, Curtis Harrington, Freddie Francis, good choices, Gabe Rios, Justin Benson, Aaron Moorhead, Mikhail Anderson, Joe Bigos is highly underrated in my opinion, who dropped 2 amazing films in the same year, Bliss and VFW were both awesome. I am also a big Jim Roberts fan. Jim Roberts makes low budget gory movies. And then we actually have the director, Domiziano, Cristopharo, Lucio A. Rojos, Brett Mullen, and K. E. Bogatitsky. Hard names for me. And Josh Darling says, how about someone's overlooked like Lucio Fulci? Likewise, let's go with Jimmy Weber or Bob Freeville. I comment, I think Fulci is no longer overlooked by horror fans, and he comments, ask the Ty West fans. So I understand what he means by the point. Fulci is definitely overlooked as far as like the big guys are concerned. He should be up there in mainstream horror with the Craven and Carpenter, Argento, Romero. I think so. And I think he kind of is getting there. I think that actual horror fans, if you don't know who Fulci is, then you're a novice. I'm sorry, you're a novice. You'll get there, and I'm not trying to be rude. We all are novices at one point, but Fulci, is great. And first, he's not the most approachable for a lot of people, but over time, I think most people will learn to or love his movies. Some of his movies, not all of them. I like a lot, but so I think that, I kind of argued that Ty West, he hasn't directed a horror feature in 7 years, and he does have a lot of, and I'm surprised that there's this many. I don't hate Ty West, but there's a lot of love for him on this list, which kind of surprised me because I feel like, not to be rude, he might come back, but he's kind of run his course a little bit, he might be back, but I don't know, but just saying. And then Glenn D. Worthington, Laurie Brewster, Marcus Cook, Kaiser Soze, Jeff Burr from Whispers of Scream, his Nights anthology flick, and his Leatherface 3, an unappreciated franchise sequel, plus his work in Puppet Master series. Kaiser Soze also says Ben Wheatley, Richard Franklin, David Schmuller, who did Tourstrap, Dante Tomaselli, Richard Stanley, Tony Randall, Simon Rumley, William Lustig, Fred Walton, Joel Schumacher, Pape Avate, who did, Zetter. And then we have Michael Parley, Ivan Kavanaugh, Belinda McKay, Brian Usna, William Adcock, David Dakota, Jonathan Knight, Todd Sheets, Michael Mitchell, the Spyrig brothers, Cody Lee Harden, you know who. Zali Becker, Tom Six, Jeremiah Kipp, Dante Tomaselli. A lot of love for Dante Tomaselli. I like his movie Horror. I thought it was always pretty good. Tracy Allen, Larry Fessenden, also PJ Starks, and Adrian Corona. And he mentions Dis is one of the best art house horror movies I've ever made. It's pretty cool. And then he also mentions Jason M. Seaman, Troy Escamilla, and Richard Roundtree. Ryan Matthew Ziegler, Ricky Bates Jr., love Ricky Bates, Brandon Motley, Eric Stanzi, Robert Barry Francos, absolutely Richard Griffin is the top of my list, James Balsamo stuff is ridiculous and childish, but is why I like it, Dakota Ray has a new voice and vision for the horror for the genre whose work improves with each release. While I haven't seen a film from Dustin in A Dog's Age, he always interesting to watch as he got darker and darker. Well, I think his last movies have gotten away from that. So, Justin Tooney, Jim Mickle is fantastic. I'm an enormous fan of his, and I very rarely ever see anyone talking about his body of work. Very good. And then Rye Guy says Marcus Dunstan, Christopher Smith, David Schmuller, Fred Walton, Steve Miner, Stuart Gordon, Tom Holland, Richard Franklin, Marcus Nispel, Carlos Lopez Jr., William Girdler doesn't get enough mention in my opinion. I agree. He also says Narcisco Ibanez Serrano, who did Who Can Kill a Child and House That Screamed, both good movies, and Carlos Enrique Tobanada, who did a bunch of movies, that, even The Wind is Afraid and Poison for the Fairies, which I still need to watch. John Bludgeon, Bruno Mattei or Claudio Fragasso, Shazim Barbarian, kind of on the fence of horror, but I love Jeremy Saunier, director of Green Room, Murder Party, and Blue Ruin, great filmmaker. Love 3 of his 4 films, myself. Information/comments, Irish Mad Dog 87, there is no L there is no L is in Jeffrey Dahmer's name. It's Dahmer, not Dahmer. Sorry. Adam Watson, I found Scare Package a bit lame and disappointing, and I refuse to watch Hubie. I can't stand another Sandler role with a stupid aggravating voice routine. Fuck off. Not you, I'm talking to Adam. I'm sure he'll watch this video, okay? But, I was at that point where I was like, I'm over Adam Sandler, and then I was like, I'm getting old, and I'm going to die. Bring on the Adam Sandler movies. I'm watching them again. I'll watch them as long as they're something that's semi-interesting to me. Ken Coakley, a friend of ming from Hong Kong, got me on Told Story on DVD about 8 years ago because he knew of my passion for Hong Kong cinema and Chinese culture in general. He would also get me Char Hiso Bio, which is what Anthony Wong's character made from humans in Untold Story. I haven't picked up Char Hiso Bio even once after seeing that movie. Wong was in some other good movies such as Full Contact and Hard Boiled, both starring Chow Yun-fat, as well as Vampire Effect, in which he turned turns in a terrific comedic performance. I love Wong, what I saw him in. But that's funny because I feel like there's that whole subgenre in Hong Kong movies, like Bloody Buns and like Ebola Syndrome has it. It's like, well, you're eating somebody and you don't know it. Human Pork Chops. Like, there's a couple that I haven't had a chance to watch. It's just like, this is a movie about some guy being fed another guy? I think so. It's like a small subgenre within the subgenre. Door Kitty Films Army. I Stand Alone proves why American movies are kind of pussy. Simple as that. You want dark? Are you sure about that? That one is just, let me take a shower and I need a minute afterward. Dark, like Dancer in the Dark. Dark. I would say that American cinema, as far as dark films are concerned, they don't really get the budget. Like in a lot of other countries, they have like grants and stuff. I don't know how easy it is to come by. You hear a lot of people say they get grants and things, and like, they're not going to grant the disturbing movies. Like, Fred Vogel's not going to get a grant to make something. So his movies are, less approachable because the budget and stuff to some people, while Gaspar Noé's movies start off kind of low budget, but as they get bigger, I mean, he gets more popularity. I don't know who's funding his movies. Like, sometimes I wonder who the hell funded Serbian Film? Who paid for this? Or Human Centipede 2? I'm like, who's paying for this movie? But it's just sometimes strange that, I feel like... American mainstream will not go there. No doubt. No way. Carson Morton, Visitor Q is insane. Gozu also has a fairly disturbing breast milk scene in it, too. Good to know. So let's ask the question of the week. Where do you draw the line on zombie movies? What is a zombie movie? I know I just said tired of talking about this, but where is a zombie movie for you? Where's the genre lie for you? What do you consider a zombie movie and what do you not? So there it is. I'm tired of this question. I've argued so many times. I'm just going to be done with it after this forever. So what do you consider a zombie movie? What are the rules that you need to have? Like, and see how hard it is. Like, the white zombies no longer zombie because they're not dead and they don't eat flesh. They're dead but they don't eat flesh and vice versa. Where does it stop? Where does it start? I don't know. Who cares? I want to know what you guys think. So I guess I care a little bit. So anyways, we're going to hop into that update. Okay, this is going to be a quickie. Got my Shout Factory from sale order. We have Night of the Demon Steelbook. Now, I picked this up because it's supposed to be a new scan of it. I actually love this movie. It was just kind of one of my favorite Halloween movies to watch. Always grew up with it. So just a big fan of the movie, Love it. Cheap horror movie. Kevin Tenney. Love Linnea Quigley in it, and Stooge and Angela. Just kind of comfort horror movie for me. Then we have Piranha Steelbook. These are all going to get 4K releases from Shout Watch. But yeah, Joe Dante classic. Wanted to rewatch it, so I figured, on the sale, it was pretty good priced. So I'm not a biggest fan of Steelbooks, but it's the only way to get these 4Ks. So 4K scans. So Piranha. Then we have Forbidden World, which is on Jeremy's Blindspot. This movie is nonsense. Unfortunately, Galaxy of Terror sold out right when I put it in my cart, so I couldn't get that one. So anyways, yeah, this is Forbidden World, which is a ridiculous Corman movie, Steelbook. And then we got Bones by Ernest Dickinson. I've never actually seen Bones, but yeah, it sounded kind of cool. When it came out, I was like, Bones, that looks stupid. But then it just sounds way better as I got older. I was like, no, that's probably actually pretty fun. And I've heard Ernest Dickinson talk about movies and everything and his film work and stuff. And I love Demon Knight, so I'm like, man, it's probably pretty good, actually. So then we have Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. Like this movie, just never got a chance to get this new Blu-ray from Scream Factory. Cool movie for sure. I haven't watched it in a very long time, but yeah, got a bunch of new features on here. So that is Behind the Mask, cool flick. Anyways, back to the video. Okay, so the 4 picks for the Patreons, here they are. And I'm shooting this out of order. I have to actually shoot this beforehand because the way the months fall on, I like to do one a week. So I'm going to draw out 4 for the month of November. What do we got? 1, we have Jim Simon, The Girl Next Door. So I'll be covering that in November. What's number 2 going to be? Travis Linscomb, Laurin, which is a 1989, it looks like a crazy gothic movie. He had me pick my own, so I picked that one because I always was interested in it, and he picked another one for October. So number 3, we have Dead Man by Chris Rivers, which I actually really like this movie. I have not watched it in a very long time, so let's see if it holds up, with Johnny Depp. And then, what else do we have? I want to make sure I only grab out 1. We have Tristan Collier, and he picked Mr. Lonely, which I don't know much about. I'll have to look into that one. So that's the 4 for November, and I will draw 4 more and add in a bunch more titles. So we got a slew of them. Maybe one week or 1 month, if I have extra time, I'll draw like 6 out or something like that. But anyways, back to the video. Okay, guys, thank you very much for watching, and as always, have a good one.
Hey.